Macklin is a cool cat. You will enjoy not only his play on the ice, but his personality. The Sharks are getting a great player, presumptive #1 pick, but everybody says it's him. Jody, you lived this. You were a Shark. What's he going to experience?
Oh, wonderful fans, great arena. I mean, it's a place that when it's full and it's rocking, it's the loudest building in the league. And they love their San Jose Sharks. You know, it's been lean years there the past couple of years, but this is something to get excited about. A kid that has roots in that Bay Area. I mean, they love everything about the Sharks. I was there with Joe Thornton and Patrick Marleau. There was a lot of excitement around those guys. It's good to see the new stars moving in.
Yeah, and you know what? This is one of those things that really accelerates
it sure
the
does.
rebuild. It's like we saw with Chicago. It's one thing to tear it down. It's one thing to say you're going to rebuild. But these are the kind of things, I mean, especially when you get a franchise player and maybe a generational player in Celebrini, these are the things that accelerate that rebuild. And those other young players that you have within your group, I mean, they've got Will Smith, who played against Celebrini this year at, BC and BU, right? Like, he's going to be coming aboard probably the year after next. And, like, those type of players, that everything gets accelerated by having someone like Celebrini that you can put in the ground as that franchise player that you build everything around.
And his game has accelerated because, as you heard him say, he's played up his whole life. And to do what he did as a freshman, to be the youngest to win the Hobie, to be a guy that shined for Canada in international competition, there's always a name that we hear year after year. You think back all the way to 2010, and it was Taylor or Tyler, and we're watching Tyler Seguin still play in the playoffs. All these years later, it's Macklin. There's no other name. It's just Macklin. When there's that level of expectation on a guy and he performs the way this guy has performed, Jody, what does it tell you?
Well, I mean, they're so prepared now. You looked at Connor Bedard last year. You see this kid, Celebrini. I mean, his dad is the head of sports science for an NBA team. So he's got the inside track on a lot of what it takes. Plus, he's in North Vancouver. Connor Bedard, you've got Kent Johnson out there. A lot of these stars that are coming up in the National Hockey League, sounds like they're out there training together, and he's proud of that, and that rubs off on them too. So already polished, already prepared, and look like even here today to see him speak. He's ready for the big time.
No question.
Polished is the right word.
Yeah.
And you've seen this, we all have over the years, the way Connor McDavid, when he hits the big scene, he's already been prepared for it. Not just the hockey part, but the off-ice part, which is a huge transition. But these guys continually make it smooth.
Yeah, and, he's represented by CAA, and that's Pat Brisson and that group. And, they represent Sidney Crosby and a lot of the high-end stars, just like there's a couple of groups that have most of the star players in the league. And so they go through that process with all these young men and get them ready for what to expect. And you make a great case. I mean, Connor Bedard, I mean, he came in. It was like he was 5 years in the league.
Yeah.
Nothing really phased Connor Bedard. And I think this will probably be a similar story. And to your point also about his dad being involved in professional sports, not only pro sports, but pro sports in the Bay Area and pro sports with a team that had been wildly successful, that had multiple championships. So there's a lot that young man just can call from what's been going on around his house for the last couple of years.
He's been around the locker room probably. He's been exposed to the NBA players, and there's some swagger with that.
I was going to tell a story. Speaking of swagger, I watched a video. There's one guy on the Golden State Warriors that's totally polarizing. I mean, like, if you talk to NBA fans, Draymond Green, people love him or they hate him. He loves Macklin Celebrini. They were going to go play in Chicago, and he asked his dad, hey, is Mac playing? Because he wanted to go see him play. And his dad said, it's great that you're supporting him. He says, hey, he's a generational talent. That kind of interest from an NBA basketball player, that's pretty cool.
And support.
Yes,
I mean, when you have guys like that in your corner you can talk to, or, even for today, when watching the lottery happen, it's the interest and support that goes a long way.
I also think the passion, growing up in a Canadian market like Vancouver, and this is probably part of what he was talking about when he talked about culture, that there was no doubt he was going to be a hockey player, even though his dad works in basketball, that he was going to be a part of the hocky culture.
Hey, listen, you don't get to be this kind of prospect if you don't absolutely love hockey.
Oh, no.
Because you have to spend so much time. As a young boy, to get to the level where you move up, and we saw as a 13-year-old, 14-year-old, 15-year-old, he loves it, and it's going to be exciting to see the draft coming up in Vegas and his development as the Sharks move forward.
We're looking forward to it. Congratulations to the San Jose Sharks. It was a tough year, but a light at the end of the tunnel.